What's going on YouTube? Here are my 10 players to let your idiot Leaguemates draft. I'm not saying I think all these guys are going to be a straight up bust, but compared to where their current ADP is, I would avoid these guys and let your teammates draft them. And if you guys are new to this channel and like the content, please make sure to comment, like, subscribe. Appreciate every single one of y'all. Now let's hop into business. Our first name up is Devon Achane, who ESPN has ranked as the 10th best player. The Dolphins are obviously undergoing major change throughout this entire offense with a new QB, coach, and scheme. And you can hate on Mike McDaniel all you want, but as a head coach, he knew how to maximize his players on offense, and especially Achane. We know Achane has big playability and it's not going to go anywhere, but he really maximized his PPR value last year due to his quarterback play, as Tua just simply couldn't push the football down the field at all. Tua and Quinn Ewers put together a low-risk 67.2 completion rate for a meager 180 pass yards per game. This led to Achane soaking up a team-high 67 receptions for 488 yards and 3 more scores. But with Malik Willis now in town, he is more than capable of scrambling rather than checking down, and he showed a healthy appetite for going downfield with a 10.1 intended air yards per pass attempt on his 35 shots last year, 8.4 on 155 career attempts. Tua sat at 6.7 last year. Now, does this speak more to Green Bay or Miami? We shall see, but the Dolphins don't have Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle anymore, so now we got to see if any of the new receivers can step up. Perhaps Achane will eat in a horizontal offense, except there's the fact that Bobby Slowick is the new OC, and Slowick is the anti-Mike McDaniel, showing very little creativity when moving running backs around the formation and being more predictable when rushing on first and second downs. We can't count on Achane lining up wide or getting those immense dump-offs on third and long with poor play calling and Willis's legs. I would be really careful here. Also, throw in the fact that Achane has had injury problems in the past and he is a smaller back, this team is probably just going to be downright terrible, and it's generally good just avoiding players in this spot altogether. I get it, if Achane is healthy, he should be fed, but his current ADP is just too rich for me, and there's too much risk involved having to select this guy at the end of the first round. Second name up is Trey McBride, who ESPN has ranked as the 16th best player. McBride went crazy last year, there's no doubt about it. He had 169 targets, 126 catches, 1,239 yards, and a crazy 11 touchdowns after 6 total in his 49 NFL games. It's even more dramatic when you consider he had 1 TD through 5 contests last year, so that's 10 in his final 12 tilts. He was the prize jewel in Jacoby Briskett's eye right there with Michael Wilson, but this required a copious amount of garbage time to get to where he went. Clearly, some people are already on this trend that he possibly can't run that hot again, or else we'd probably be discussing him in the end of the first round. But the question is it enough? And I'd say no, evidently. There are so many variables around what's changing from 25 to 26 that this undersells the environment. There's also the fact that you'll be sad if Brissett winds up benched for Gardner Minshew or Carson Beck. The Cardinals also took Jeremiah Love in the first round and signed Tyler Algier after their entire running back room hit the medical tent last year, leading to a league-leading high passing rate that sniffs 70%. Last year, every week felt as Brisket blew plus 40-plus pass attempts per game with a team down double digits in the fourth, and McBride was at the center of it. The volume, the lofty touchdown percentage, and the inability to trust rushing all led into a magical season, but in my mind, he's closer to Colston Loveland than he is to Brock Bowers. Third up, we got his teammate Jeremiah Love, who ESPN has ranked as the 12th best player. I'll preface by saying I think Jeremiah is an absolute stud. He was elite at Notre Dame, and he's an elite running back. He has a unique blend of size, speed, and vision that is incredibly rare at the position. He has the power to break away after contact with defenders and can leap over them in the open field. He also has incredible hands, a great receiver that quarterbacks can utilize, and a nightmare to tackle on screen passes. He's a legit offensive weapon. But the reason we're including him here is because he was drafted by the Cardinals, plain and simple. The fit is just terrible. He joins an incredibly crowded backfield with James Conner, Tyler Algier, Trey Benson, and Bam Knight already on the depth chart. I know Conner had a lost 2025 season because of his ankle injury, but I doubt Arizona will develop amnesia and forget that he rushed for over 1,000 yards in each of the 2 prior seasons. And then we also have Algier in the fold, who inked a multi-year deal with Arizona, and at the time he appeared to be in line to inherit the early down and goal line work for the Cardinals, and he also, in my mind, remains the best thumper option and the most adept at running between the tackles thanks to his stout frame. Algier isn't going anywhere and will further cut into Love's total touches. Even if Jeremiah Love is the go-to guy in the running back room for Arizona, we still have to admit that there's a real chance that there's probably a potential committee situation at our hands. And then further complicating matters is the question of who will be starting at quarterback. We got Jacoby Brisket coming off his best season in 25, who just re-signed, and now following the departure of Kyler Murray, they selected Carson Beck out of Miami in the 3rd round. And if Carson Beck's starting, what is this offense going to look like as a whole? And even or Gardner Minshew. There's just so many question marks on this offense. And now we know Love will probably be involved in the passing game, right? But you can counter it with Trey McBride, who's arguably the best tight end in the NFL and commanded a crazy large target share last year. And we have Marvin Harrison as well, who hasn't lived up to the expectations, but the Cardinals have said they want to get him going as more. And we have Michael Wilson, who had an expanded role last year and looked great giving the opportunity. There's just so many targets to feed as well in this Arizona offense to where we kind of have to wonder, is Jeremiah Love really going to get his through the passing game as well? And this has nothing to do with Love's talent. He's an all-world running back talent. This has to do completely with the team situation surrounding the quarterback group, the running back group, and the receiver spots. I just would avoid Love altogether. Also, in the fact, too, this Arizona offensive line in camp has looked downright terrible. It's just way too rich of an ADP for me to currently buy in and feel like I'm going to get maximum value. Next up, we have Ted McMillan, who ESPN has ranked as the 32nd best player. Ted's ADP is rooted in his potential, but then you're stuck rooting for a Bryce Young breakout to a moderate degree, and that just feels mispriced here in my mind. Guys like Mike Evans, Terry McLaurin, Jalen Waddle, and Devante Adams should not be 6 to 12 picks behind Ted due to their own talent, sure, but also the caliber of their respective offenses and quarterbacks. We're also not too certain how play calling is going to fall between Dave Canales and new offensive coordinator Brad Idzik. It appears Canales wants more focus elsewhere during the game, so we've got Canales, Bryce, and a bit of a mystery box in Idzik. Now, I will say the thing working in Ted's case is the little competition they added around him. Chris Brazel is a third-round pick who could push Xavier Legette, though a healthy campaign from Jalen Coker and Jonathan Brooks is even more relevant. McMillan saw at least 8 targets in 5 of the 6 games that Coker missed on the IR to open the year, only topping that 4 times in 12 games playing alongside Coker, including the playoffs. And we all remember the playoff game when Coker exploded for 134 and a touchdown on 12 targets to Ted's 5 for 81 on 7 targets. Pretty nifty to see what happens when it's all on the line, although in one game sample where it isn't as T-Mac disappeared, but Young's passing pie isn't that big, so sharing can hurt disproportionately. Remember, it's the price, not just the player here. Next up, we have Kyren Williams, who ESPN has ranked as the 37th best fantasy player. Kyren had a great season in 25, recording over 1,500 scrimmage yards, 13 touchdowns across 17 games. However, though, Kyren saw a workload decrease in 25, averaging 17.4 touches per game last season after averaging 21.8 touches per game across 23 and 24. The smaller role was due to the emergence of Rams running back Blake Corum, who could steal even more playing time away from Kyren in 2026. Given how productive, though, Kyren has been in recent years, it seems unlikely that LA would move on to him in a secondary role. Still, the Super Bowl hopeful Rams could choose to operate a true 50-50 split between their two talented backs, keeping them both fresh throughout the year. As the RB14 by current ADP and redraft leagues, Williams just may be slightly overvalued in my mind, and Corum is going to get heads. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if by the end of the next season, Blake Corum is getting more touches than Kyren Williams. Quinshon Judkins is our next man up, who ESPN has ranked as the 40th player. Obviously, Quinshon Judkins is coming off of a brutal injury, and for as good as Jared Verse is, this defense could absolutely fall apart without Myles Garrett wreaking havoc on the edge. His superstar form covered up a multitude of sins in the secondary, which could lead to seriously jagged scoreboards that take Judkins off the field in favor of Dylan Sampson. The game script is obviously a major concern here, and there's also the small matter of Judkins having to hold up for the year after his ankle injury and fractured tibia in Week 16, and he must do so if he wants to meet his ADP, and he's going to be going behind one of the worst projected offensive lines in the game with zero passing threat under the center to force defenses back. I'd simply look elsewhere. There's too much risk involved. Devante Adams, our next man up, who ESPN has ranked as 43rd. ESPN just seems to love valuing older players, and I know Devante is coming off a good season, but this price tag is too high. Devante has already started to trend downward. His decline is evident in just about every efficiency metric, but my favorite is yards per route run. Between 2018 and 2022, Adams averaged a blistering 2.54 yards per route run per PFF. Over the last 3 years, that number has been 1.98. Still great, but not best receiver in the world elite. However, Adams was chart-breaking in one stat in 2025, and that stat scores far more fantasy points than yards per route run, being touchdowns. Despite playing in just 14 games, Adams easily led the league with 14 receiving scores. This wasn't a fluke either. The Rams built their goal line offense around Matthew Stafford's chemistry with him, and he saw a truly absurd 1.93 end zone targets per game per fantasy points data sweep. No other player with as many games played was above 1.06. Now, Adams is in an interesting situation heading into 2026 with his declining ability and playing alongside Puka. He's not going to rack up targets like his usual fantasy wide receiver one, but his genuinely unique goal line role could propel him to another excellent fantasy season. if it does last. But if I'm a betting man, and I am a betting man, I am not betting on his touchdown numbers to continue at where they are. Carnell Tate's the next man up, who ESPN has ranked as the 51st best player. Similar to J. Love, Tate is an exceptionally talented football player at 6'2", 190. He has the frame to line up all over the field and excels against man coverage. He's an extremely polished route runner with reliable hands and has the strength to win contested catches when necessary. Tennessee needs a true alpha. Calvin Ridley was terrible last year and was injured and inconsistent. And yes, this team did add Wan'Dale Robinson in free agency, but he is a pure slot receiver. Tate was drafted to be the first read on passing plays in this offense led by Dable, and by all accounts, he should be. So now you may ask, why the pause? Anyone banking on Tate to finish as his current ADP is banking on Cam Moore continuing to make dramatic strides in the right direction and an improved play from the Titans' offensive line, which surrendered a league-high 55 sacks last season. He should, right? Affording Ward time to throw the ball and allowing plays to actually develop will be crucial for Tate's success. Otherwise, Ward will just pepper Robinson with targets as a short yardage option. You should keep in mind that Ward averaged a terrible 5.9 yards per attempt last season while constantly scrambling for his life. Even though he threw passes close to the line of scrimmage, he completed fewer than 60% of his passes and didn't have a game with more than one touchdown pass until week 14. I'll have to see it when I believe it when it comes to Ward's projected leap. And at wide receiver 24, Tate is being drafted ahead of DK Metcalf, Cortland Sutton, Alec Pierce. I'm very worried about him finishing higher than any of those options. And again, I just don't bank on the upside and projection here. Next up is Tutti Tutin, Bashaw Tutin, who ESPN has ranked as the 60th best player. I like Tutin as a player, and I like the Jags' upside as a whole, but this feels like your avenue to profit has been trimmed away but compared to the springtime cost. Jags brought in Chris Rodriguez Jr. on a 2-year, $10 million deal to reunite with Liam Cohen, who was Chris Rodriguez's OC at the University of Kentucky during his best college campaign. Rodriguez's strong running style is an effective between the tackles short yardage model, but he's quicker than a plotter. In non-PPR formats, it has me leaning away from Tutin with how well Rodriguez could fit as the goal line option, and also LaQuint Allen getting more passing work only siphons this a bit more. Last up, we got Kenyan Sadik, who ESPN has ranked as the 116th best player. As the player himself, there are a lot of things I like about Kenyan. He's a super athletic rookie who earned elite draft capital as the 16th pick in the draft. Although the Jets' offense is looking a little bit more crowded, it has only one truly established NFL pass catcher in Garrett Wilson. On the other hand, we're still talking about a rookie tight end on the Jets. Even in the scenario where he does hit, he will probably have to ride benches for a larger part of the year. The most likely outcome is that he never emerges as more than a boom or bust tight end in the opportunity of tight end wasteland. His opportunity cost at 116 isn't brutal, but it still means passing on other players with objectively better ranges of outcomes, including the massively undervalued Dalton Kincaid at his position. Unless you're a diehard Jets fan, in which the case you probably have other problems, don't chase this rookie at his elevated price tag. Those are my 10 names for you guys to avoid and let your idiot league mates draft. If you guys have any questions at all or like the channel, please feel free to comment, like, subscribe. Thank you. Love y'all. Peace out.